parents, we felt, we're failures. You know, here we've tried to raise our kids to do what's right, to know what's right.
We felt like our son's heart had gone astray.
What would make you launch a reality TV show about your family, given this past?
Hey guys, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. There's been so much going on the last few days, and we need to sort of unpack a few things, because if you know anything about this channel, we have been covering the Duggars extensively, and I have a lot of back history on my channel, and I'm starting to actually house everything so that you can have a place to find all things Josh Duggar. And as I'm moving forward, I have started a whole new playlist for you guys, so make sure you do check that out so that you can stay up to date on everything that's coming, because things are going to start flying and it's going to go very fast. This is going to be a fast moving story. New details are starting to come out, and as I was looking through some documents that were released this afternoon by the government, I realized that some of the items that we've been focusing on a lot on this channel that didn't really make a lot of sense, that we were covering extensively as we were looking at what was happening and going on with the Duggars and what was happening and going on with Josh and Anna Duggar specifically. Well, all of this is starting to come full circle, and it's all starting to make sense after I received a copy of documents from the government which show clearly what it is that they are going to want if he ends up having to go away for 40 years. So here's the deal. Let's start at the very beginning. Back in the spring of 2019, we noticed that there was some stuff that was going on with the Duggars that seemed a little bit off. First off, Josh and Anna Duggar, who had 5 children at the time and Anna was pregnant, made this really bizarre decision to sell their house. The home at the time had 5 bedrooms and it was 3,000 square feet. For a growing family, even though they had 5 kids, it was plenty of space if you consider the fact that even the Duggars, who at one point lived in, I think, a 2,000 square foot home with like 15 kids, a 3,000 square foot home for 5 kids is pretty big in Duggar land. So it was odd for a lot of people, like, why is he placing this house on the market? Why are they selling it? And then shortly after they sold the house, instead of buying a new home, which people expected that they would do, they seemed to move onto the property of Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar. So that was in the spring of 2019. And then in the fall of 2019, there was an indication that things were going on and people were looking into Josh Duggar. A lot of rumors started circulating that there was these unmarked cars that were like looking at property connected to Josh. There was discussions that people were at the Duggars compound or the big house doing and interviewing people and asking for information. As information got leaked out, initially it was suggested that it was FBI. It turned out it was DHS, and DHS confirmed that this was going on. The Duggars called it fake news, but the DHS basically said, yes, this is an ongoing investigation into a business related to Josh Duggar. After that, everything sort of went back to normal. The Duggars said it was fake news, Counting On kept filming, and people just sort of kept going along their day. But we also noticed some more concerning things along the way. So not only did Josh Duggar and Anna Duggar move out of their home, but they also Josh started creating all these LLCs and putting them in Anna's name, not in his name, in Anna's name. Now, we started talking about this several months ago, maybe a year ago, because he was in the middle of a lawsuit related to a piece of property which he had purchased, and he was being sued for buying the property without running the proper titles, and an individual who had lived on the property for over a decade wanted him to get off the property so he could continue living there. He eventually lost that case. So initially my thought was like, oh, well, he's anticipating a loss here, so maybe he knows that he's going to have to pay high fees, so he wants to get rid of his assets. And there's an appearance of perhaps some of these companies might have been shell companies to potentially either divert assets, hide assets, or to deposit assets and not put them in Josh's name, particularly one that was made in April of 2019, Soleo de Gloria, which was in Anna's name and happened to potentially coincide with the sale of their farmhouse. Well, now it seems even more clear because during that same time, he also started opening these LLCs, and instead of putting them in his name, all of the LLCs were going into Anna's name. I showed a number of the LLCs in multiple videos in the past. This all happened in like in early 2020 and into the summer of 2020. Some people thought, is he opening these to get PPP loans? I looked and checked to see if any of these companies had PPP loans in their name. I couldn't find any evidence of that. So it's unclear why he had opened all of these businesses, but all of them, instead of being in Josh's name, were in Anna's name. It seemed like Josh was trying to it seemed to me like he was trying to hide assets, or he was trying to get around people knowing that he had assets. And then by living at the family property, it seemed like he was trying to avoid owning a home. Well, now it seems that it's come full circle because the indictment that was outlined by the federal government has outlined pretty clearly what will happen if he's convicted, and it's basically that he has to forfeit a lot of things. So the 4-page indictment, which was released by the government today, says this, that there's a forfeiture allegation. So it says the grand jury realleges and incorporates by reference hereunto the counts of the indictment. Upon conviction on any count of this indictment, the defendant shall forfeit to the United States interest in any visual depictions of any of the stuff that he'd had. So any of those images that he had or possessed, he has to give up all of that, whether it's, mail, physical, or on the computer. It says any property, real or personal, constituting or traceable to gross profits or other proceeds obtained from offenses in the indictment. So this makes me wonder if he was involved in he had some sort of involvement where he was maybe making money on this. They did say they were looking into one of Josh's businesses. So I'm wondering if he was making money on these, and potentially he had, as a result, will have to forfeit anything that he obtained money from in regards to this. He has to give up any property that he owns, any assets that he owns, that he would have, whatever his involvement of with these images was. And he also says any property, real estate, real or personal, including any personal equipment used to or intended to be used to commit or promote the commission of these offenses. So this could be traceable property, including but not limited computer equipment used in the commission of these offenses under the indictment. But here's the other thing. So they're basically saying, like, you have to give us up all of your stuff. You have to forfeit anything. If you made money doing this, you have to give us everything. Anything that you purchased with that money, you give back to the federal government. If you have any of these images, you're giving these to the federal government. And this is another caveat, which it says, if any property subject to forfeiture as a result of any act or omission of the defendants, if they cannot be located upon exercise of due diligence, has been transferred or sold to or deposited with a third party, has been placed beyond the jurisdiction of the court, has been substantially diminished in value, or has been commingled with other property which cannot be subdivided without difficulty, it is the intent of the United States to seek forfeiture of any other property of said defendants up to the value of that forfeited property. So basically what the government is saying, that there's an allegation here that he got rid of property, and if they find out that he was hiding property or he got rid of property knowing that this was coming up, knowing that he was going to face charges, they will seek those damages. So they will go and say the house sale was a part of that. If they find out that the house sale was in regards to that, they can take damages and say, you owe us what you made on the house. So if he was working, and think of the implications of whether or not Jim Bob was involved in this. So say Jim Bob might have been helping him get rid of assets, get rid of things. I mean, the government is never going to allow you to hide money. And if this was a money venture for him, where he wasn't just possessing, downloading, and owning it, but he was also part of some sort of company that was putting these out. There's nothing about publishing in here, so I'm not quite sure why this is in there. I don't know if there's something more to this case that we're going to learn down the line as to why this would be in there. My only thought is that there must be some suspicion that there was money that was made as a result of this, and the government wants that money, which is why Josh Duggar is likely getting rid of his house, putting businesses in Anna's name, not his, not having real property for the government to obtain. Likely, I'm guessing money would not be in his name at this point. I'm guessing that money would maybe be in Anna's name at this point. And the fact that Jim Bob helped him in this and allowed him to live on this property so that he didn't have to pay, or he knew that this was coming, I wonder if there would be legal implications to Jim Bob for aiding in that. That could be serious, really serious. So let's hope, for the sake of the minor kids, that there wasn't an involvement by Jim Bob. Let's hope that they were ignorant to all of this. I have a hard time believing that, but again, I don't know. But the long of the short of it is, Josh, it seems, was taking steps to hide assets and to get rid of them. And the government is basically saying, if we find out you did that, you're going to pay us for what you got rid of that you tried to hide. And it's an interesting aspect of this indictment. I want to know what your thoughts are. Do you think that Jim Bob knew about this, or do you think he was really trying to feign ignorance in this? Do you think Josh kept him completely out of the loop? Do you think that Jim Bob could be held responsible in some sort of way for potentially aiding and abetting in this? Or do you think this is all going to fall on Josh? Josh is facing 40 years in prison, you guys. 40 years and up to $500,000 in fines. That's a lot of money and a lot of time. He could be going away for 40 years, meaning he would be 73 at the time that he could be released from prison. So what do you think? Was he hiding assets, or was this just like, oh, we're just going to get rid of things? There's nothing happening. And what do you think Anna's role is in all of this? A lot of you are not willing to give her grace. Some of you are being more compassionate. Did Anna know, or was Anna really truly ignorant? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.